Hey guys, so we are today talking about how to eat on a shift work schedule. So, any questions that you guys have, plop them in the comments. And once I'm done all of this, I'll go back and check any of the comments that are there so that I can reply to them. So, eating on a shift schedule, we tend to complicate it. We tend to make it where it's like, oh, because it's at night or day or evenings, it it needs to be different foods. And the fact of the matter is that food is actually um, what it is there for is to fuel your muscles, fuel your brain, fuel your body. So you need the same foods regardless of what shift you are on. But there are some differences. So there's, as I've talked about, you guys have heard, your stress management system manages 50 different hormones. Two of those hormones are called leptin and ghrelin. They are your hunger and your satiety hormones. And the thing is that normally when you fall asleep at night, you normally have melatonin, which is your sleep hormone that's released, and it starts a whole cascade of these other hormones floating around. Or not floating, they actually of healing and doing their job of what they're supposed to be doing. Now, the thing is that when you're awake on a night shift schedule, what happens is your body still does release a little bit of melatonin. And some of these hormones still try to do some of their work. So you have your leptin and your ghrelin that are supposed to make you feel full and make you and stop you when your body is sorry, make you feel full and hungry. So and let you know when you're hungry. So the thing is that these start getting confused because you're actually awake when this process is happening. So they're not able to really finish what they're supposed to be doing. So you may find that on night shift, you may get severe munchies. You may find that you don't stop eating the way that you would on a day shift. It does eventually get to the point where you may find that you're always getting the munchies, or you get them at night. If you are somebody that has moved to a day shift schedule or something, you may find that, the days you're okay, and you're able to follow a good meal plan, but at night you have zero willpower, like none. You're in the cupboards, you're eating full bags of chips. You tend to maybe go for salty and crunchy and chips. So the chips is there's sodium in the chips and there's potassium. And if you watch Friday, that's coming up, I'm going to teach you about an electrolyte drink that has sodium and potassium in it, that supports your stress system. But what happens is your adrenals, your stress system, really requires extra sodium. So you might start at night shift because your body is going through more of a stress because you're fighting your normal rhythms. You're fighting that your body is actually supposed to be doing all this healing of your hormones. And so your body actually goes through even more stress hormones just from doing night shifts. That's it, like just the night shifts alone. And then we can talk about 12-hour shifts and then having your equipment on you for fire, going to calls with 75 pounds or so on you, police having 25 to 40 pounds on your person, EMS always lifting people, corrections, you guys have equipment on you. So all of this for the 12, 24-hour shifts, for nights, days, all of these things stress you out. And so you might find that you're starting to have different cravings, that you're starting to not be able to stop any of these things. So what we try to do with shift work is not to really think of days, evenings, nights, or first shift, second shift, third. We don't think of the different shifts. Just think of your first meal, your second meal, and your third meal. So it doesn't matter what shift it's on. Every meal that you do have, you want to have a protein, you want to have a good fat, and you want to have a vegetable, and so your fiber, and you want to have some sort of a healthy carbohydrate as well. That being said, if you're on keto or paleo, that's a little bit different, but just to note, because if you're actually in full ketosis, if you're doing just slightly paleo or slightly keto, then your body actually, you start getting to this point where your brain gets foggy because your brain needs carbs, but keto, you eventually start using ketones for that. But which is why with keto, you need to be able to stick with it. And what we find is that shift work is, there's aspects of it with the fasting that helps you on shift, but when it's a rotating shift, it's hard to keep that fasting schedule and staying on top of it long term, because there are so many unknowns. You're not in a regular schedule, that keto over the long term is tough for most people. There are some very successful at it, but I'll just let you know that in there. Sorry, that was just a sidebar. I wasn't going to mention specific diets. But yeah, when you're talking about a shift work, really think about just when you wake, your first meal. And it can be anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be breakfasty foods like you think of, like eggs or toast or any of those things. It can be, let's just say you are waking up closer to when it's dinner time with your family. You can eat dinner with them. It doesn't matter. It's just your first meal. But you do want to make sure that you're getting the protein, the good fat, so important, because that is what stabilizes that leptin and ghrelin and your hormones. You have the fiber and stuff, which is going to be helping your colon. It helps to keep that satiety going as well. The protein as well. It really does make sure that like your hormones and everything is running on track properly. And it keeps that hunger in check. And then you do need some of those carbohydrates, but just realistic amounts. So only a fist size ever, max, never more, at any meal that you're having. So just think first meal, second meal, third meal, which then gets us into the situation of what the heck happens when I'm on a call and I can't eat. So my husband, what we always do is, I'm going to give police for an example right now. I know paramedic, you can do this. Fire, it's a little bit different. So I'll throw in some things for you guys, because most of the time fire, you guys are usually like on a call in the midst of doing things, or you're at the station. So correct me if I'm wrong on that though. Police is what I really, really, really know. So if there's any tweaks and variations to this, let me know in the comments and we can absolutely work with it with the different schedules. Corrections as well. I know you guys, you know, have certain times to break and do things and come around, but not always. So with police, with my husband, what we've done is he has three options. He always has a meal packed that if he's at the station or he's somewhere that he can heat it up, sometimes convenience stores have microwaves or something, he can totally heat it up. He sometimes puts it in a thermos, or it's a meal that he can just eat cold, like sandwich and raw veggies and all of that stuff. So if it's something like that, he's always got a meal like that that's like your big meal, that's your actual traditional meal that he will have if he can. Quite often he stores it at the station in the fridge. In case he can't get to it that shift, then he eats it the following shift. And then in his bag, he always has a couple of things. He has sometimes a smoothie that's already pre-made that has protein, good fats, has carbs in it, has fiber, has everything that he needs in it. Has a little bit of the sodium, potassium that we talked about too. And that way, if he is stuck somewhere, but he can still get to his car, to his duty bag, he can chug. So it's a quick chug meal that he can have in a bottle. He also has a few packets of already pre-made smoothies. These are a secondary resort to one that's freshly made, because the freshly made ones we actually put in fruit and vegetables. So he's getting better fiber. He's getting better nutritional value from that than something that's from a packet. But it's never, with every situation, I don't want you to think of like, I have to be perfect all the time, because the thing is that with your job, there is no perfect. There's all of these moments that we have to just be prepared for. And the main thing is getting you some food and sustenance in you. That is the most important thing. So we do what we can do. So If you have a shake from home, great. If you don't beat yourself up. Just always have those packets in your bag. Make sure that they're not just protein only smoothies. Make sure that they do have a carb in them, because you're going to be using them in those situations where you have no other options and you need the carb and the protein and that. So get as much nutritional value as you can from those. Then the other thing is, my husband always has stuff in his pockets. He's got his vest, he's got his pants, he's got like everything. And it was funny. We had last summer, we had one of the guys that my husband's a coach officer. We had one of the guys that he was coaching over. And I was like, how's your food on shift? How are you doing? And he started laughing. He's like, oh my God. He goes, we're on a call and someone's having a blood sugar low. He's like, Kev, that's my husband. He's like, Kev pulls out a granola bar and hands it to her. He goes, we're sitting in the hospital manning somebody. We've been there for like an hour, and he pulls out a bag of trail mix from another one. He's like, everywhere we are, my husband's just pulling out stuff out of his pockets. He's got them stuffed everywhere. It's hilarious on laundry day, or when we need to do things, like all this stuff comes out of his pockets. But he has things, if he has to be manning a scene, when there's a DOA and you have to wait for the coroner to come, that could take 4 or 5 hours here sometimes for the coroner to get here. And he's stuck, he can't leave. So he always makes sure he has something on his person. You do have to make sure there's some criteria with that. It can't melt. And it's not something that's just going to smush really easily, which is why we do a lot of raw nuts. There are allergies. We understand that. But this is for certain situations, certain cases. Most of the time he's on his own. So he has nuts with some dried fruit in it, because both of those things don't freeze. They don't melt. If you're going to go and get a trail mix, make sure it doesn't have any chocolate bits or anything in it, because man, does that get messy when it's been in your pockets for a while. Granola bars too, a lot of the newer ones, they're full of sugar and all that crap. Make sure as well, a lot of the protein bars that you'll buy have all these chocolates and things in them that just, they melt, they dissolve, they squish, they get gross. And you don't want any of those packages too, if you have an impact, to burst open and all this stuff oozes out. So we usually revert back to the traditional old Quaker hard granola bars, which yes, they have sugar in them. Yes, they're full of carbs. They do have the nuts, which kind of stabilize you. But like I said, you're not going for perfect. You're going for, what the heck can I have at this point in time in order to get me through this, so that I have enough energy and sustenance until I can actually get food. And that's where, when it's over, he'll actually call and order something from somewhere that he can just pick up quickly on his way to the station to do his report. Or he knows that he has that food in the fridge that he can eat while he's doing his report. So it's really important to have something for all of those different scenarios, because like things pop up for you guys. He was as well for a while on the bikes. So when you're on the bikes, you pretty much have a fanny pack. Like they unload a van of bikes and then they go and you guys are off. So he had all kinds of things. He had electrolyte drinks with him, like that he can just be refilling his water bottle everywhere he could get to a water station. He actually has a filter. We have a filter that we can filter out, that filters out bacteria and stuff. Can actually get it from lakes and streams and stuff if you was anywhere we're in the city. But sometimes with the bikes, you go different areas and you're stuck there. And making sure like that he had salt tablets, that he had or he had salt rocks always a little bit on him in his person. So if he was sweating a lot and wasn't able to get places, he could just drop that in his water bottle. And he had so many things that were high calorie, stuffed on him for when he couldn't get places where there was food. And the big thing too is eat when you can. They always say, spread your meals, do all this stuff, but that's not realistic. That's what you do on your days off. Okay. But when you are on shift, you always need to be prepared. So if you have a moment on shift where you can eat your meal, eat your meal. And then make sure that you have things to sustain you after that. And the biggest thing I'm going to tell you guys, and you're going to laugh, you're going to say like, hey, this is ridiculous, chew slow. So there's a reason for this. And I same thing. You're never going to be perfect. You're not going to be able to do this all the time. When you're chugging a meal, you can't. But when you're with a DOA waiting for a coroner and you have 4 or 5 hours, you can chew what you have very, very slow. So time and a place. The reason is when you start chewing, it first off starts to, you'll see, like, even though I'm thinking about food, I'm talking about it, I can feel saliva starting in my mouth. And that is mixed with digestive enzymes. So it's starting to get enzymes. And what enzymes do is they break down your food. So you need to chew in your mouth to get enough enzymes in it, as well as to break down the food as much as you can. What that also does is it starts stimulating your stomach to start producing digestive enzymes. Now, as we talked about this week already, when your nervous system is kicking in, your stress system, it actually slows down your gut and it sends a signal to your gut that you're in the middle of a stressor, you're being chased by a bear, lion, whatever, you're in the middle of a fight, you don't need to eat. And it slows down your gut mobility, and that turns down your digestive enzymes. So if you start chewing slow, you're sending a signal to that nerve that's saying, hey, we can turn on your digestion and you can turn on these enzymes that will break down this food. And then by the time that the food gets down, it's broken down smaller and it can get to your gut and it will actually have enzymes to break it down further. So you get less indigestion. It helps with constipation and diarrhea because the food is actually getting broken down more. You get more nutritional value too because either you broke it down in your mouth or by the time that it gets to your stomach, the digestive enzymes start breaking it down. So as much as you can, start focusing on chewing slow. As soon as you have your phone in front of you, you chew quick. You just start chewing quick. You do it, you inhale, you don't think about it. So try not to have your phone with you. Try to really sit and enjoy whatever, the 2-3 minutes you may have to eat or the 15, and actually enjoy your environment. Sit back, put your spoon and your fork down in between every bite and chew it. Chew it until it is chewed 20 to 30 times and then swallow it. And then pick up your fork, cut your next piece, and then you put it in. So chewing slow will make a huge difference on your gut digestion. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to just quickly go into Facebook and see if there were any questions, if anybody had them based on what we just talked about. And if not, anybody has any while you're watching this after the fact, just post them in the comments and I'll come through and absolutely help you with them there. Okay, no comments. We do have quite a few people watching though, which is awesome. So any of you, just any questions, any comments, definitely just write them into the comment section. I'm here to help. Your gut is a big, big point of contention with what you do. We've already gotten into a lot of the reasons. I'm just checking to see what's on tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are talking about intermittent fasting and restrictive diets and how they affect your gut. So that one you definitely don't want to miss. And Friday's the one I keep talking about too, where I'm going to actually show you about my electrolyte drink and how it actually like supports your adrenals and can make such a huge difference on your gut health and as well as your energy and your healing. So stick around for those two on Thursday and Friday. And any questions, pop them into the comments because I am here to help. All right. Take care.